Good morning, and what a morning we've got this morning. We've got perfect tides for fishing. So the moon phase is a waxing gibbous. Gibbous means anywhere between half a moon and a full moon, and the waxing gibbous means it's getting bigger. So full moon is tomorrow night, and that's a perfect tide because full moons mean the stronger tide, and because it's the full moon tomorrow, it means that today's tide is bigger than yesterday's and tomorrow's tide will be bigger than today. So some people call that a step tide. So a tide that's getting bigger, quite a strong tide. It's not the biggest of spring tides, which is great as well because the drift isn't going to be too ferocious. So that tide and good weather is just screaming out lure fishing on wrecks. And the freezer is almost empty, so I'm hoping for some whitefish today. We've got a bit of mist in the estuary this morning. That's due to clear. It won't be out to sea anyway. The breeze is due to get up a little bit, but not too strong. So the plan today is to stock up on whitefish, pollock. Hopefully there might be a cod around. If we get a slack tide period and I can find some bait, possibly ling. The chance of a trio very slim, but if I can catch any one of those three above £5 to put in the freezer, that'll be chopped up. That'll be brilliant. So yeah, gonna get set up in a minute, head on out there, and we'll see what we can find this morning. Stunning morning, isn't it? Salcombe is very busy but not quite woken up yet, obviously at the bottom of the estuary, so let's get out there and see what we can find. Well, what a stunning start to the day. I hadn't even switched the camera on. I just stopped here to see if there might be any mackerel about. And found that beauty first off. If I can get 3 or 4 of those quickly and then head out to the wreck, that'd be fantastic. Just pop some water in that bucket. Have you got any friends down there? The conditions have really changed recently. The May bloom has gone, the algal bloom. There are sand eels in the estuary. The sea temperature's really warmed up. It's 17.5 degrees now. I'm lining myself up for a fall, but conditions are really good. Number 2. It's really nice to be able to come out and catch fresh bait. First time this year. that would be a beautiful eating fish as well. We'll see. Right, that's 3, that's more than enough. Off out to the wreck. What a lovely trip out that was. Saw some dolphins. I tried to take a little bit of footage, so if it's there you'll see it. Right, we're out here on just the very last of the flood leading up to slack water, so I'm going to start off with bait, some of those mackerel that I started, hoping for a ling off the bottom. So I fished this wreck before, not this year. I don't even know if I fished it last year. I tried last year, but it was probably a similar time of year, and it was teeming with dolphins, so I gave up before I started and went somewhere else. So this isn't particularly snagging. I want to fish it right on the bottom, so I'm not fishing with a wrecking rig for this. So I'm fishing with a sliding boom, and then just a very short length of 200-pound fluoro going onto a 10-0 Sea Beast, and I'm going to put half a mackerel on that. There it is. So I'm using my slightly bigger rod for this one, a Penn TRQ 12 to 20 pound braid rod with a Penn Fathom 2-speed lever drag. This is the 30 size. It's 40 pound braid. It's not a snaggy wreck, so I don't need a robbing lead or anything like that. And one of the reasons I'm not using the wrecking rig, I sort of use the wrecking rig as a robbing leader. I tie them quite long, but this just allows it to sit a little bit closer to the bottom. Allows the bait to sit a little bit closer to the bottom. We'll see if there's anything there that's interested. There we are. So we're in 70 metres of water, 0.4, 0.5 of a knot adrift just on the last of the flood tide. And fabulous conditions. It's hard to believe it's going to be miserable out here tomorrow. The swells coming out, some of them were up around, easily 10 feet. Yeah, there's a low pressure system in the Atlantic coming in tomorrow, giving us wind, loads of rain, and that pressure system is just pushing swell ahead of it. So beautiful here. You might be able to see a little bit of the swell. These are quite small, there's the odd bigger one amongst them, but yeah, it's just swell today. Tomorrow it's going to be waves, tomorrow it's going to be hideous, so take advantage of it while we can. Well, nothing on drift 1. Just lining up on drift 2, coming up onto the wreck. Something's having a nibble at it. It feels like small fish, but ling are peculiar. Normally they'll take a big lunge at the bait and that's it, and try and take it into the wreck. Other times they seem to just sniff around it a little bit. We live in hope. It doesn't really matter because I've got half a mackerel on there, so it is a decent sized bait with a big 10-0 hook. So if it's pouting, nibbling at it, they'll bite up the bait a little bit, and little bits of bait will come off, and it'll create a bit of a scent trail. So that's not an issue at all, if it makes it more attractive for a ling. Nicely on the wreck now. Tide's slacking in. Yeah, 0.3 of a knot now. Shows there's fish down there though. If there's pouting nibbling, it shows there's fish down there, and if there's pouting there, ling will be eating pouting. And hopefully eating my mackerel. What I'm really waiting for is for that tide. Oh, there's a little knock. No, maybe nothing. What I'm really waiting for is that tide to pick up and get on the lure fishing. It should be really good, hopefully. Catching ling is brilliant, and if you catch a ling, it's amazing. But the thing with fishing with big hooks and big baits, either all happens or nothing happens. When you're fishing with lures, you'll catch small fish, you'll catch bigger fish, you'll get bites. Yeah, something's happening all the time. Saying that, there's some interest being shown down there. Not sure it's a ling on it though. Come out! I said I wasn't sure if it was a ling on it, but I'm pretty convinced now. That is a big fish. Yes, and we're out of the structure. Well, I said either nothing happens or it all happens. This is a very large fish. Still going for it. Here we are. What an amazing hook hold. That's what we came for. That is a beauty. Right. I'll spin the boat round so you can get a better look at that. But that is definitely what we came for. Well, I've just put that on the scales and it's coming in at 19 pounds. So very happy with that. That is definitely going to top up the freezer. Great, right. I might do something else for a little while. I don't particularly need another ling. Another ling would be brilliant, but I might just have a fish around the edge of the wreck until the tide builds and see if there's anything lurking there. Right, we are definitely early on the tide for lure fishing, but I'm going to give it a go. Cruising around the wreck didn't produce anything. I mainly did that just while I was filleting that fish off. I would normally take them home, but it's too warm and sunny. It wouldn't fit in the igloo. So that's filleted off and on ice. So I've got standard lure fishing setup, sliding boom, 30-pound fluorocarbon, about 8 foot or so, and I'm going to try one of Lazy Lure's Bomb Squad selection, and this one is the neon one, just the small one, because there's quite a lot of small fry around still. So yeah, give that a go to start with. We're still pretty much on slack water, it's not built up yet, but give it a go anyway while we wait for the tide to build. Been joined by a couple of other boats out here while we wait for the tide to build, but what a glorious day. Flat sea, some dolphins over there, no wind, sun's out, and a fantastic fish in the igloo. I'll say it's too early for lure fishing. There's a bit of interest there on the first drop. Didn't take it, but oh, or did it? Yeah, it's come back for it. There it is. That I would suggest is a small pollock, so I'll just wind it in gently because we are in 68 metres of water. So if I take it steady, then hopefully it will return. Not a big fish, but it's an encouraging start with just 0.3 of a knot of drift showing. So it's small, but it's a fighter. Yep, as predicted, a little pollock, but that should return if I can get that hook out, because it's absolutely engulfed that lure. Come out. Yep, that's come out well, and that should go back straight down. Lovely. Well, drift number 3, and I think we've hit a very decent pollock. I think. It just took off to the bottom, took some line. Yeah, this is a good fish. Still on slack water as well. In fact, it's slacked right off. We've got 0.2 of a knot now. Very encouraging for when the tide starts to run. In the meantime, let's see if we can get this one on board. There's another run for the bottom. That one is a beauty of a pollock. Just lip hooked with that Lazy Lure neon. £6 or £7 I'm going to put that up. Very nice. Well, I underestimated that fish. It's not the longest. It is a long fish, it's not the longest, but it's so chunky, it's just shy of £9, that one. Excellent. One for the freezer, and 2 of the trio achieved. We're in with another diver. They're such good fun to catch. The commercial pollock ban is definitely having an effect. Yeah, this is another landing net fish. If it comes up. Where are you? Got colour. Slightly smaller than the first, but still a really good taker on that neon lazy lure again. Yep, the freezer's filling up. So I've got obviously the ling is a keeper, 2 nice keepers for pollock. I don't mind catching more pollock, they stay in the freezer very well, but I would also, being a greedy fisherman, like to catch a cod. So I think I'm going to have a bite to eat, wait for the tide to pick up a little bit, or the tide will pick up a little bit while I have a sandwich. That feels like a greedy pout. And I'm going to change to a white lure. I've always had more luck with cod on lighter lures, so I'll unhook this pout and then carry on with that plan. Wouldn't be a fishing Salcombe trip without one. Just filleting those fish off and this thing came floating by. Hopefully you can see a little bit of that. We used to get lots of them when I lived in Cornwall. Don't get so many of them in Devon. By the wind sailors, they're called. Yeah, strange creature, but stinging tentacles underneath. Not strong, but stinging tentacles underneath. We've got some dolphins around as well. How good was that? Never get fed up when they want to come and play. Really inquisitive creatures. So back to fishing. Exactly the same rig as before, except this time I've got a white bomb squad from Lazy Lure. Tide still hasn't picked up, we've still only got 0.2 of a knot, but it was working before. Let's see if there are any cod in amongst them. I know that's a bit greedy and it's asking quite a lot, but we will see. Got to dare to dream. It's a very slight breeze getting up from the southwest, and I think that's just holding off the drift starting. We've definitely got wind against tide because I'm currently I'm facing east and fishing under the boat, so I might swap sides in a minute. Yeah, so just to explain that, we're we're waiting for the tide to start going out here. So the ebb tide is in that direction, west. I'm facing east at the moment, and my lure is getting dragged that way. So the tide is going that way, but the wind from the southwest is pushing us up that way. Oh, more dolphins. So we've got wind against tide, even though there's not very much tide. I'm fishing at quite an angle. Can't ignore these guys when they want to come and have a look. There they go, just cruising by. I could just watch them all day and not bother with fishing. This wind is freshening a little bit. Nothing to make it you know, a turn back type of day, but it's just holding back against that tide. So the 6 ounce lead wasn't doing it. I've just upped to a 10. Still going off at a little bit of an angle at that, but it'll help. Some people, particularly like Bristol Channel fishermen, you know, there's 16-20 ounces of lead. My lead box only goes up to a 10, and then I go home if that's no good. Right, same conditions, same spot, haven't even moved, just swapped it out from a 6-inch white to a 4-inch yellow. See if it makes a difference. You would think that if they're eating small fry and something bigger turns up, they would go for it, but it rarely works like that. I think if they're eating small fry, they're attuned to seeing that, catching that, snapping at that, and they ignore anything a little bit bigger. It seems that way anyway. Well, we'll find out. Well, it appears size does matter. almost feels like a small bass. Could be a big pout. It is neither. It is an amazing tub gurnard. Turn the boat around a little bit. Look at that for a creature. Amazing, aren't they? Also really good eating, and that is big enough to take, but I'm feeling benevolent. We've got a lot for the freezer. This is lucky day. If he'd been greedier and been half a pound heavier, I'd have taken him. Right, reposition a little bit and have another go. Just gonna have one last drift here. It's I have got another hour or so that I could fish this before the tide. Before I need to head in for the tide, but it's just starting to get a bit awkward for fishing wind against tide, and I've had a fantastic day, so it seems a shame to spoil it struggling with wind against tide. And although the wind isn't dangerous or particularly rough or anything like that, yeah, it's just like I said, just getting to be a bit of a struggle. Wind against tide, the lines out like this, even with 10 ounces of lead on. And the wind is fresher than forecast, so if that builds up more, it's just going to be more of the same. So I'll have this one more drift, and then head in a little bit closer to shore. I might stop and at the place that I stopped first this morning, just drop the mackerel feathers, get a couple of mackerel from the freezer. It's always good to have some for bait. See what the conditions are like when I get a little bit closer in. But yeah, that's the plan, to call it a day out here and head a little bit closer in. So I'll see you in shore. Right, just a little try for mackerel on our way in. The wind hasn't reached here yet. I was quite a long way out before, and the wind is there, but yeah, not as strong as it was further out to sea. I'm still about a mile and a half, 2 miles off, but yeah, the wind hasn't reached here yet. Oh, the mackerel's still here. It would appear they are. Well, not a mackerel, but let me unhook it. Without getting spined. That is an amazing size red gurnard. Very pretty fish, and another species for the day. Nearly got me. If I'd kept that tub, I would have probably kept that one to go with it. because they are amazing eating fish. Well, that's me done for the day. I'm heading in on the tide now. Yeah, what a fantastic day out. Brilliant tide, although to be fair, I didn't even fish the best of it. Yeah, just a great day out. Fantastic weather. Always fantastic to see dolphins, and there was loads of them out there today, which was great. And on top of that, we had some fish. Being able to catch mackerel for bait is fantastic, and also a complete bonus and a first for this year. And that contributed in a major way to getting that ling. Yeah, they'll always come to freshly caught bait better than frozen bait. So yeah, absolute stonker of a ling at £19. Two really good table pollock, £9, and one just slightly under. If I'd have stuck with the same lure in the same place, I could have caught more and more pollock. I'm absolutely convinced of that. But I decided to switch it over and see if there are any cod about. That didn't work out, but that doesn't matter. There cod are very few and far between at the moment, but 2 out of the 3 target species, and catching all 3 was always going to be a little bit ambitious. So that, and then that really fantastic tub gurnard and a red gurnard to finish off. No more mackerel on the way in, but that really doesn't matter. It's certainly not going to take the edge off the day. So yeah, that's that. I'm heading back in. Not sure when I'm out next, not sure what I'll go for. As usual, I'll wait for the weather to get good again after tomorrow's deluge that's coming down. And then play it by ear, see what's what, and do what we can do. And I hope you'll join me. Thanks for watching. Cheers.